A really tragic story made me record this video. I'm following this murder trial that investigates the brutal killing and torturing of a young woman by her husband. And this case would be just one of many, if not few, outrageous factors. Firstly, the creature that killed her is an ex-minister of national economy of Kazakhstan. Secondly, he was torturing her for over 8 hours in his own restaurant, and no one called the police. Neither the police, neither an ambulance, nothing. It was an overnight crew of painters who heard all the screaming. In the morning it was staff in the restaurant, including administrator and his own personal assistant. Thirdly, it all was recorded on restaurant cameras, and he even recorded some tortures on his own phone. And despite all of this evidence, during an open murder trial, he still denies everything he was doing to her and basically claims that she died because of 4 slaps and few falls that was her fault because she was drunk. Moreover, when she was slowly dying, in the VIP room, he put her on a little couch, and the whole next day she was in that room until late in the evening. They finally called an ambulance, but she was dead. Anyways, when she was slowly dying in the VIP room from a severe brain injury, he was calling his psychic, not an ambulance, guys, but a psychic, and asking if she would wake up eventually. Additionally, he was calling some women he was cheating on with to arrange a date, and also hanging with some other women next day in another VIP room, drinking champagne and periodically coming inside the other room to check on his dying wife. So what got me to record this video specifically? I'm following this open murder trial on YouTube, and you know what got to me the most? When few witnesses such as her friends or brother were questioned, they all were saying, oh well, it wasn't written on his forehead that he is a psychopath. If she could only knew, she would definitely leave him earlier. What can I say, friends? It was written, the flashing sign was so huge that if she could only know what exactly was written and how to read these signs, she and many other women could save their lives. So today we are going to talk about those signs, those red flags indicating that this is psychopath in front of you. A predator, a dangerous person, and you better not get involved with them whatsoever. My name is Darina and I'm doing my psychology postgrad in Australia. Let's get started. Firstly, who is a psychopath? In the simplest words, a psychopath is a mix of a narcissist plus sociopath. What they get from a narcissist? Arrogance, high expectations, creating facade, superficiality, no feeling of empathy or remorse. And from sociopaths, it is no impulse control, explosiveness, and no remorse and empathy as well. Additionally, it is cruelty, and so on and so forth. And why this particular combo is so dangerous? Because high intellect meets cruelty. So their social face is so perfect that no one can ever believe that this person could do something similar like that. The man who killed his wife, the Mr. Bishimbayev, he is a textbook example of a psychopath. He has 3 university degrees, he was high in politics, he has a big influence, and guess what? Many years ago, he already had 10 years sentence for corruption crime, which he only served under 2 years out of 10, because President of Kazakhstan personally pardoned him, because he believed that Mr. Bishimbayev is a really brilliant young man that needs a second chance. You see what happens when you give second chances to psychopaths? Gosh, I want to say something else. I'm like, oh. So, can you imagine the influence of this person? Now, let's get back to the signs of psychopathic behavior. Mr. Bishimbayev demonstrated a lot of them. When a brother of Saltanat was talking, he pretty much told all their stories of what was happening from the beginning. And the first sign that he is clearly an unhealthy person was evident when, even before they became a couple, when she first rejected his offer to get to know each other, he started to love bomb her. She was referring to his letters on Instagram as shits. He was texting her, trying to convince her to give him a chance, that she should not believe anything that was in the press. As I said, he was previously behind the bars, which is another red flag, isn't it? But we are talking first about classical love bombing, which called a sugar show or love bombing. A healthy person understands no. For a healthy person, no means the end of the story. For a psychopath, this is the beginning of the game. It is about power, it is all about dominance, and her rejection was only fueling his desire to get her. So, my dear girls, or maybe guys, as women can also act like that, right? Anyway, if you notice that someone obsessively love bombs you without even knowing you, this has to become a huge sign that this person is someone to be careful about. The second sign that was flashing about his psychopathy and future abuse was that he proposed her almost immediately, and this is the most typical behavior of all abusers, narcissists, psychopaths, or anyone from the dark triad. They are sprinters, they are not marathon runners. They cannot control impulses, and most importantly, they cannot hold the mask of normality for too long. Therefore, it is very common practice to see a psychopath or a malignant narcissist trying to tie a knot very quickly with his victim. He gets married, get a woman pregnant, or constantly make a woman pregnant, open a business together, or make a victim take a loan. So when a victim starts seeing their true colors, they cannot easily escape. Another red flag that showed that he is a psychopath is a desire to totally control his victim and deprive her of any meaningful contacts, friends, family, and of course deprive her of financial stability. He even prohibited her of using her Instagram, and she opened a new page where she was posting only photographs together with him. That's all. Before meeting Mr. Bishimbayev, his wife Saltanat, she was a cheerful, self-sufficient young lady who worked in a helping profession as an astrologer. She had a private practice, a good social circle, and had a close relationship with her brother. In her text messages to her girlfriends, she said that he wants to spend time with her 24/7. He made her stop working and put a tracking device on her phone. Of course, it all was covered in fluff that he cares about her, that she doesn't need to work as he can support her, and that her girlfriends are only jealous of her successful marriage. That's why there is no need for them to hang out anymore. Anyway, the classic scenario of an abuse. When tragic things start to happen, there is no one out there that she can reach out to seek help, and there are no finances to do so as well. That's why I always say to my nieces or any of my friends, guys, no matter what, you always have to be self-sufficient and do not depend on anyone, because you never know what another person can do tomorrow. You have to have all pillars of your life strong, as a job and finances pillar, friends and family, hobbies, etc. And if one of these pillars is gone, say a relationship, you will be just fine. Your whole world would not collapse. By the way, regarding the tracker, he said that he allowed her to track his phone as well, but this is just one of the manipulation tactics, since he had multiple side relationships, aka he was cheating on her constantly. So my assumption would be that he wanted to know where she was, so he could engage in sexual contacts with other women when she was at the gym or at home without worrying that she will come back home abruptly, probably. Another sign that Mr. Bishimbayev is a psychopath is that he had really crazy acts of rage and aggression on people around them. As the brother of a past girl told to the court, their first conflict happened when she told him off for not speaking rudely to the restaurant staff. This is classic again. For whoever is lower than a psychopath in rank, she or he will act like that. Arrogant, haughty and violent. Additionally, he turned a Christmas table during celebration, and by turning a table, I literally mean it. They had a Christmas dinner with the parents of Mr. Bishimbayev, his kids from a previous marriage, who is a deceased girl, and her brother. Bishimbayev was extremely angry at some minor issue, kind of like when his kids opened their presents while he was out of the room talking on the phone. So when he came back, it all turned into the big drama of blaming everyone for disrespect, shouting and smashing things, and eventually he turned over the table with all the food on it while guests were still there. Moreover, people who worked for Bishimbayev, such as a cleaner or his personal assistant, they all reported that his apartment and things in his apartment were regularly needed fixing, such as broken glass doors and broken furniture, say doors with a hole in them the size of a human fist, scratches and chips over other furniture such as kitchen cabinets, since he was throwing objects in them. Additionally, his housekeeper reported that she dropped a carpet off at the dry cleaners once because it was covered in blood. So this behavior should not be just a red flag, it is the sale of a huge sheep. And there are two reasons for it. First, what does this behavior demonstrate? It demonstrates a rage, an uncontrollable anger. Imagine yourself in your angriest state. Imagine what are you capable of doing? Screaming? Maybe swearing? And now imagine how angry you should be to actually break windows, furniture, doors, etc. And he felt like this regularly. So how safe is this to live with a person who feels and acts in such a way? And secondly, this behavior demonstrates a loss of control, since today it is a door and tomorrow it can be your head, which eventually happened to Saltanat. Because you cannot imagine if someone acts angry like that, raging, breaking stuff, and then comes to his wife and says, "Sweetheart, I do not agree with what you did earlier today. It was breaching my personal boundaries. Can you stop doing it, please?" Can you guys imagine? Oh well, not much to imagine, since the alarming sign number 4 is physical violence. He started to physically beat her up, and even still she could leave. I'm not saying she could actually, I'm just saying that this behavior would be inappropriate to tolerate. It should have been inappropriate to tolerate, to forgive, or to wait that it was one last time, because the one who punched once, if they did not meet enough serious consequences, it would repeat over and over again. Because why would the perpetrator stop? And this is why that beating was continuing for 8 hours, because he was enjoying doing so, humiliating and hurting her, and he knew that he could get away with it, as he already did many times, and no one ever reported domestic violence. The only difference was that he was doing it longer than usual this time. As I said, he was beating her up for hours. Why this time it was longer? Because this is an increase in tolerance. As with any drug addict or adrenaline addict, a regular dose is not enough. A heroin user needs more stuff to get the same high effect, just as the perpetrator needs to intensify his violence to get the relief they need, and they lose the plot. A heroin user will overdose, and the result of such violence is killing. One of the interesting signs that he was a complete psychopath was that he didn't let her sleep. And you know what? It was exactly the same as what the victims of Marilyn Manson reported, that they were constantly sleep deprived. Studies suggest that dark triad traits such as Machiavellism and psychopathy were linked to poor sleep quality. Therefore, because they don't sleep well or enough, they do not let their victims sleep because they want to talk. Saltanat, in her messages to her friends while talking to them, she said that when she sometimes left him periodically and got back to her parents or stayed at the hotel to catch her breath during this happy marriage, she could finally have a normal night of sleep and recover. What else? Infidelity. Narcissists and psychopaths can not only be with one person. They need their ego stroked by many people. Constant gaslighting. He convinced her that she was crazy and that her crying was a sign of depression. Not his abuse or cheating, right? He made her believe that she was provoking him for all these horrendous beatings, that's why she was constantly apologizing, and even wrote him a letter that he forced her to write about that she promises to be a good wife, work on herself and see a psychologist. Can you imagine a level of gaslighting and cynicism? Also, he demonstrated constant jealousy, especially over her past relationships, but I believe it was just a reason to torture her. All these signs clearly demonstrated that he had a disturbed personality, and as I already said, he is a textbook example of anyone who would be claimed as a psychopath. So it honestly breaks my heart that if people knew these signs, the sequence of events of a classic abuse scenario, sugar show, rapid commitment, control, isolation, violence, escalating of violence, disposal, either emotional or physical. If we were taught that at school, we would have fewer fatal cases or broken destinies. Why we know that we cannot approach a crocodile because it's a dangerous animal, but we, for some reasons, don't know that we cannot approach a psychopath because they're dangerous as well. Look after yourself and your loved ones, and I will see you in next videos.